Ridiculous fondling cardboard.
What is up? Welcome back to Fondling Cardboard. I'm your host, Mike Lakusta, a.k.a. the Golf Card Collector. And we are in the Olympics. That's right. There is golf happening. There is a pause on professional golf, but that's okay. We can watch the amateurs, as they're called at the Olympics, compete out for a gold medal. The Olympics have a special place in my heart. I used to travel around every summer visiting my dad and some other family, and every 4 years there was always that Summer Olympics that would be on the TV in the background. I would learn about all kinds of weird sports, and it's just something I always enjoyed. Xander Schauffele is looking to repeat. He's the 2021 Olympics gold medal champion. And after the first round here in Paris, he's sitting in second place. So things are looking pretty good for those Xander fans. Currently, it's Hideki Matsuyama, who shot a blistering 8 under par opening round that is between Xander and top of the leaderboard. And then, of course, we've got Scottie Scheffler lurking just a couple strokes back. This is actually a lot of stuff I talked about this week with a new friend of the show who's going to be on next week. And I won't spoil too much, but we get into some awesome golf talk as well as Olympics golf cards. And by the time that episode airs, we're going to know who finishes on the podium this weekend. But shifting to today's episode, we have Andrew Pokorny, who is an avid autograph seeker, a past owner and operator of 2 card shops. But most relevant to the conversation and why I wanted to interview Andrew is that he is scheming currently for a very intriguing retirement plan involving golf tournaments, golf events, and sports cards and memorabilia. So without further ado, here's the conversation.
Perfect today. Yes, sir, Mike. Glad to be on here.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me. I was really intrigued because of some of the DMs that we've been exchanging about not only your experience working on different golf tours, but also your experience owning some shops, some card shops in the 90s, and this unique vision that you have for participating both in the hobby and in the golf world. So, just to kick things off, do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, your hobby history, and your golf history?
Yes, sir, Mike. I have extensive history in the card shops in the 90s. I was just a kid selling card or buying and selling cards in the 80s. So I've had a lot of experience back in the good old days, as they say it, with the old timers and such. And I look at the cards now and go, holy crap, I had a lot of stuff back in the day. But the baseball strike kind of pushed me out of the baseball business back in 93, 94, 95.
So, did you actually have brick and mortar card shops where you'd be selling packs, have singles on display for sale? Can you tell me about what it looked like?
Well, yes, sir. I did. I had 2 brick and mortars. I called one of them, it was a sport card gallery, and I actually had a wall that I would hang the cards up in and that people could come see it as like a sport card. So it was kind of an interesting concept. I was into singles more, but I just couldn't go to eBay back then and just find a certain card I'm looking for. So, of course, you have to open packs then. So sometimes I'd have a lot of wax on on the inventory floor, and sometimes I'd bust a lot of wax. So that was also the conundrum of having a baseball card collectible business.
What was your experience like running those 2 card shops, and what are some of the lessons that you learned?
Like I just stated, opening packs was also a lesson you had to learn real quickly when you got cases and cases and you were direct with these people. But I did card shows as well. I would leave on the weekends and I would have some kids that would go with, run the shop for me or do this or that. In the 90s, we had this thing where I wanted to get a big screen TV, put it in there, and they'd play Sega Genesis and, the Nintendo games and rent time on the big screen, which was, I had a John Elway quarterback, a coin operated machine. So, I mean, I made it a lot of different ways to get a lot of different people through the doors. And but educating nowadays, with kids and cards and stuff, with eBay and everything, they can find what they want. I can't tell them go find this or go find that out of this pack. They can go to eBay and say, hey, here it is. So I think we're moving more toward a niche market where you just have to find that niche. And I think that golf collectibles, and that's how I found your podcast, is the way to go.
You kind of caught my attention when you said you had this John Elway game and you had a big screen and you had cards and wax from the conversation that you and I have had offline and learning about your visions for your future, it sounds like you still have this idea of different streams, different ways of participating with the community. So let's kind of get into that. So you currently are working in catering on several golf tours, and you have this idea for opening a portable golf cards and memorabilia card shop. What's inspired this vision?
Well, when I go out on tour and do the catering, they usually put me around the 17th, 18th green. We run bars and food for the higher class, I guess they call it hospitality. Everybody has to have a nice air conditioned area these days. But anyway, when I walk around these golf courses and I see the kids out there and I see them, they don't really know the golfers. They don't care about the golfers. They start, give me a ball, give me a glove, give me this, give me that. And, they don't really have the true understanding of what it takes to have, collections or collect things. And, you're not going to just teach people right there in the general public at a golf tournament how to do things. But you can pass out cards and stuff to these kids and say, hey, look, this is that guy. They can look on the back of that card and go, wow, this guy's from such and such. He played college golf here. So, that kind of sent me down the avenue of why would these kids be getting scraps of paper signed and popcorn boxes or whatever? And why couldn't they just have the right things available to them? And you can't go into the pro shop and where you buy the $100 shirts and get that kind of thing. So, that just set my mind in motion that there's an avenue for this stuff and a way we could get this stuff out to the people and promote golf, promote collecting, and promote all of it all at one time on site at golf tournaments or at youth golf tournaments or anywhere that golf is going on. Why can't we put this stuff out there and teach these children how to do collecting and what's fun for them?
Hmm. What I really like from what I'm hearing from you, and also from what I heard from Jason Joyner, who is on last episode, many people in the golf niche, is that we're not aiming at taking golf and forcing it on existing card collectors, but rather trying to grow the hobby, grow the pie, because there's so many people that enjoy the sport and enjoy the idea of interacting with athletes and collecting pieces of them and their history, but that aren't already collecting cards. So it's sort of like what Fanatics talks about, growing the hobby. That's really neat. Like, is there an established collecting community already in your area where, you know, whether it's golf cards, baseball cards, whatever, where collectors are already kind of engaging in a community?
Well, this is an area that I did have my shops in the 90s. There are some still people that do the shows here. I have not seen how much golf related it is, but we do have a strong high school golf program here in the area. We have a real nice golf club here that was Old Waverly that held a U.S. Women's Open back in '99. The high school team, like I just mentioned, they've won 6, 7 state championships in a row and send a lot of people to Division 1. So the golf interest is here, and all the weekends they are holding college golf tournaments and such, where these guys are out and about. And a lot of people, when I approach them out on the golf tour, when they see their cards, they've seen them before, but sometimes they haven't seen the inserts, or sometimes they haven't seen the rarity or the scarcity of their cards. And funny story, when I was in Kentucky last week at the ISCO Championship, I run around and go get Joel Damon, and Joel sees his little red Dazzler card, and he goes, "Oh, look, hey, I forget his Gino, his caddy." He tells Gino, "Hey, look, here's a pink one, here's a red one, here's this color of Dazzler. Do you have this one?" And I found that just all of a sudden just told me that, hey, Gino likes to collect cards. So I took him a patch card with John Daly Jr. and Joel Damon on it the next day. And he just went, we just couldn't even believe it. So then I hand him a stack of cards and say, "Could you run these up to Joel? Because I kind of work here and don't want to get in trouble getting autographs." So Gino runs them up there and gets them for me. So, just looking for that networking. I'm not trying to go right for caddies and golfers and such like that, but just funny stories of just giving stuff and teaching and finding out who is interested. Yeah, when you know who's in the hobby, then you definitely can push the stuff upon them. But then also, if they're not in the hobby, you can tell them this is what the rarity and scarcity of these cards are, and what the inserts mean, and the numbers mean, and all those pretty colors and all that stuff. So, yeah, there's a market here.
Interesting. You know, you've inspired something that I hadn't really even thought about when we first talked, but you almost have alluded to this ethics when it comes to requesting autographs, whether it's being polite, acting with good manners and being respectful because these guys are in their workplace. And I mean, beyond that, you are an employee there and you're working, so you have certain standards to uphold as well. So, what kind of advice do you have, whether it's to those kids that are have scraps of paper and bags of popcorn they're trying to get signed, or even just regular old hobbyists and fans who like to go to the events and maybe want to get something autographed or ask for that glove or that ball as a player's walking off the green. What kind of advice do you have for people out there?
Well, truthfully, I draw the line at two things when I'm looking at somebody to get autograph, and if they're in their general public, and if they're with family, I don't even step in. I mean, I let family time be family time, because that's definitely the first thing that they're trying to accomplish, is that they're trying to communicate, whatever they might need to be communicating for that day to their family. So I don't approach family. And also eating. I have a thing, you see a guy in a restaurant, they run right up to the table and, start bothering somebody while they're eating. And that was just rule number two. It's really those two simple things. I think otherwise, past that, you're fair game. Um, the way you get around that is the story, another Kentucky story from last week when I was up at the Waffle House. I see a courtesy car out in the parking lot. So I start looking around for the golf tournament, and well, there's a golfer or somebody in here. So I start looking around, and you see who has the golfer tan and all that. And so usually they'll be by themselves, and he was sitting up at the bar. So I deduced the logic there to see who was who. And sometimes you know who they are, sometimes you don't. So I just introduce myself as a collector if I don't know. And so this happened to be Troy Merritt. And I introduce myself. Then I go back down with my group, sit down and eat. But I give the waitress a $25, and I say, hey, after that guy at the bar is done with his, meal, could buy his meal for him. And so then she did, and he got a free meal, and he walked. So then he walks over because they tell him who it was, and he comes over and introduces himself to me. So then I've already deduced that he cannot. He's done eating. I'm not bothering him while he's eating, but I accomplished the autograph. And the next day he comes up to me and sees me at the tournament and gives me a signed glove, and I get a few more things signed. So you just have to. It's a networking, it's a politeness, it's a etiquette, it's all those things above that make the thrill of the chase worthwhile.
Yeah, networking's been a bit of a theme over these last few episodes. It's funny how topics come in these waves, but um, wow, thanks for the advice. I think a lot of people will, you know, never even imagine that sort of thing. I think you're living a life that a lot of us, dream of. Being out there meeting these professional athletes, and in some ways, kind of interacting really positively with them. But now I want to shift back to your vision. So you kind of explain it to me as a mobile golf cards and memorabilia shop that you'd be able to take with you to some different golf tours and set up, whether it's selling products, inventory, trading, or getting athletes to come to you. Um, it really piqued my interest. So can you tell us a little more about your vision? What would this physically look like? You're going to have a fold-out table, a trolley on wheels. What kind of what do you envision? Is this outdoors, indoors? Is it going to be security, locked up so you can go to the bathroom, several times a day? Like how do you see all of this shaking out?
Well, there's a lot of different avenues that I'm looking at for trying to get golf cards closer to the golf tour per se, and memorabilia and collections, and even involving other folks, be it having card shows in that area that's around a golf tournament, finding an empty strip mall right by the golf course and putting up signs and, doing all your promotions and having card collectors come in and doing all sports of a card show in that area. But I mean, I'm really looking towards golf. So I'm looking towards like being on the course, being right off the course, like you said, with a I don't want to use the word food truck, but just something that gives you a good, nice display of memorabilia and cards, and just bringing that stuff out to the golf course and showing the even having packs, having the flags, anything that the pro shop just doesn't touch base on. I go to a lot of these events and the pro shop has like a DJ in there. Well, why can't it just be a nice card set up with the tables and some nice lights and some pretty Bryson DeChambeau? Well, we can't do Bryson DeChambeau's on the PGA Tour probably. Just really, like you said, it's just location, location, location. And, I'm trying to get this stuff of mine and collections of other golf collectors to have get into areas that are by these golf tournaments and present these golf cards and give people opportunities to search out a niche product like what golf memorabilia is. But golfers are they all these guys at these tournaments have a good disposable income, I'm sure, overall, and there's a lot of good stuff that we could get them that would be complementary to their collections and to their experiences of being at a golf tournament, which is having the proper cards and proper uh, equipment to get autographs and to have a good time and to learn something about these guys. So yes, I would love to find areas to get rid of this, or to get this product out to the general public.
Yeah, you're right. Just golf fans in general tend to have some disposable income because it's a bit of a luxury sport, isn't it? Um, I want to, circle back to that though, because, when I envision what you're describing, and you've even said it yourself, there's a lot of different avenues. You could partner with local card shops wherever the tour is going, whatever town it's in. You could have a little, whether you said food truck, but maybe a van with ice cream truck style of fold out window with cards on display. Like, I want to visualize this a little bit more. So, do you envision it being built out of into a vehicle, or more like maybe a little kiosk that wheels out and you set up somewhere on the course?
Well, like with weather and weather related incidents and stuff, now there are a lot of people that do vend out of golf tournaments. And I saw one last week in Kentucky that I really was enamored by. It was a big trailer that basically would be a long trailer that had, I guess you would say, winches and stuff that lifted up the ceilings and stuff, or the sides, into a pop-up shop, and it actually had a nice secure indoor style area. Now indoor not meaning that the rain can't blow into to that location, but they were selling sandals and golf shoes and stuff. It's Olakai, which is, I think, some kind of Hawaiian shoe company, and they go to a lot of golf tournaments. I've seen them at a lot of them, but I'd never really just inspected the trailer itself. And it's about a 10,000 pound trailer. So it's something that would take a nice big truck to, get down the road. So, starting off as I'm starting off, it's going to have to be something where, like when I would go to shows just at your normal hotel down the street back in the 90s with my stuff, you have your showcases, you have your stuff, and you just do it card show style. But with the weather concerns, security concerns, and this and that, or if I need to go to the restroom, maybe hopefully my wife doesn't like that she doesn't travel on the tour like I do now, but she would definitely be up for hitting Myrtle Beach and Jacksonville, Florida, and Dallas and Rhode Island and Pennsylvania, all the places that I've been this year. So she would love that. So she could be my bathroom break. Just won't let her sell anything while I'm gone.
Yeah, make sure she doesn't get swindled or taken advantage of. But
Yes.
it's funny. I envision the clientele, being pretty innocent, let's say. People who
Mhm.
don't know necessarily much about cards and memorabilia, just sort of regular old golf fans, that you might be that hook, that first exposure to the hobby that inspires them to look up eBay one day, or to come join one of our Facebook groups like Golf Cards and
Mhm.
Memorabilia. And so, if you pan out to kind of be that hook, I thank you for your service in the same way that, I put effort into growing the community online. You would be uh, a feeding system to growing our niche in the hobby. So that all sounds awesome. Um,
Yeah, I don't really want to be a part of like the only guy that's going to do this. I definitely want to be the guy that brings in those people and to bring in other golf people that have stuff like I have that would like to get out there and sell stuff, which would mean setting up shows at these things and passing like you said, being the first presentation into the golf market. Why would they not love a graded Tiger Woods card? Maybe the one of the ones that you might have on that U.S. or British Open thing, that I might could win. That I could sell that to them.
yeah, awesome.
Hey, look at this. No, I'm just kidding. It's just a great way of just having stuff. They don't really care what they have if it's nice and shiny and pretty, but I want them to care what they have because I want them to know what's behind this card and what's behind this thing. I buy poker chips at all these tournaments. I buy golf markers. Sometimes I get stuff free, from these suites and stuff that have golf related on it. And all these golf balls I get signed are technically they come from somewhere, but I love anything to get signed, and I'm getting into flags. I didn't really like flags. I didn't like scorecards, but I'm more of a golfs and golf cards because I like to have that picture of that guy so that these people, when they see it, they go, "Oh, that's a Joel Damon Dazzler." I don't really care about getting a common card signed because a common card would look normal. It's just a paper card. But boy, when you get one of those nice little dazzlers signed, it actually pops and it looks good. And so I always look to do the more even inserts and extra things to get signed instead of just your normal cards because it adds just that much more to the look of the card.
That's interesting. I probably am inclined to agree with you. The exceptions would be, for some reason, I really like the look of an autograph on a Sports Illustrated for Kids card. I don't know why, whether it's one of their iconic rookies or not. I think it's so simple that it kind of looks cool. And then the other
Primitive almost.
yeah, primitive, exactly. It takes you back to, when I was in elementary school and they had Sports Illustrated for Kids magazines in our library, and we'd go and try and find the magazines when they were brand new before anybody else had a chance to rip out the cards out of them. It's a very nostalgic thing. And then the other one is that, um, even a very simple card, if it happens to be an iconic rookie, like the Tiger Woods rookie card. I'm sure a raw version of that card's $20, something like that. And whether or not it's in good condition, if that were to be autographed, that would be amazing. Same with like the 81 Donruss Jack Nicklaus card. Super basic, super simple, but an autograph on a basic card like that, which has significance, I think that's pretty cool. But once you get into whatever random set, 2024 Upper Deck Golf, right, is just a hot thing for this year. Um, I probably wouldn't want just like the base cards of whatever player autographed, like you. I'd want to go for something on the shinier side, maybe the more rare side or an insert. Yeah, that's cool. On this topic of actually talking about the cards themselves, how do you envision your mix of inventory? From whether it's at the beginning when maybe you just have a card show type of setup, or maybe someday if you manage to build out, a trailer pop-up shop. How do you think you would inventory and stock this? And how would you be balancing sort of a variety of items? You and I are both card guys, but not everybody there's going to be a card guy. So maybe you need gloves and flags and stuff. So tell me a little more about that.
I am trying to go not be as snobbish about what I pick and choose to be in this, but really it's more I've come to find, and I even find this just having my shop on eBay of what I do sell and what sells quicker and what sells not as quick. And like you say, the getting those rookies signed, when I get a young gun signed, those tend to sell faster than just your base card or even your dazzlers because people do just kind of collect the rookies side. Um, it's also I like doing things like you have that card with Alex Fitzpatrick and his brother Matthew on the same card. I've got Alex on three or four of those cards already. I have not caught Matthew yet, but it's just kind of like looking at that kind of way of getting the autographs on the cards. You have your 3-person cards where I can't remember the name, footsteps maybe of some sort, that have the 3 golfers on them. And, I like getting those signed because then when the golfer's signing them, he sees the other signatures already on there and they kind of like, oh, that's great. Nick Hardy has one as well. Or who won the Zurich last year where the 2 guys were on the card? Is it Nick Hardy and the Alabama guy, Davis Riley? They're both on a card, and I have the clear cut acetate of that, and I've already got Davis Riley on it, but I'm just waiting to get the other guy. So, it's just kind of like little things like that to have niche stuff, to have just a little bit different than your base card. To ask about what you supply on to sell, the guys that are on Full Swing are very popular. It's just crazy. I mean, I can sell Joel Damon's faster than I can sell Xander Schauffele's, and it's just I'm not going to call it quite ridiculous, but I'm just going to call it what it is. It's, who's the popular name? Who do people like? Who do people bond with? Who do they feel connected to? Do they, Rory McIlroy's unattainable sometimes. So do we relate to Joel Damon? Do we relate to Tom Kim and these guys on Full Swing? But I think it should be a requirement that if you're going to be on Full Swing, you better be on the Upper Deck roster. But that's a whole nother argument for a whole nother day.
We should make it a requirement that you're not allowed to win a golf event unless you have a card.
Exactly. I would love that nothing more. But then that's where the poker chips come in, then I'll just get a golf marker or poker chip side from that tournament. But yeah, you have to have cards to win a tournament. Harry Hall last week was great, but he had cards and he had a nice week going. And, just I got a nice card signed to him that he's on a quad with a couple other guys, the shirt quads, and he just signed his name in little bitty letters there, like, on that, because there's going to be 4 signatures on there eventually. But that's the kind of way I look at envisioning stocking things. And I've been on a buying spree now for well over a year. And especially now that I saw last year that all this product was coming out this year, and I said, well, here's the time. I had this idea 2 years ago, but how exciting was it to really go back and buy 2021 and 2014 and 20? That wasn't, it was exciting to me, but really I needed something that had the newer guys in it and this and that. So that to make this feel like they were going to have enough product coming out that I was going to be able to turn around and do something with it and present it out there to the golf collectors. And so thank goodness that keeps going, and we hope that keeps going even more next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed that Upper Deck makes this an annual thing because they've gone a few years between releases lately. 2024, you're right. Like they've come out with a lot of new names in that set. I'm not going to say smaller names, but names that we don't hear a bunch, and maybe they'll grow into becoming superstars, and they're names that maybe you're more likely to come across in your travels and in your line of work. Um, and so you brought up something that totally kind of blew my mind, to chase these dual autographs or triple or quad autographs, that's brilliant, especially if the two players are related or there's something special about them being together. Like if 2 guys happened to have gone through a big showdown, heck, Ryder Cup or a big playoff to win an event, if there's some kind of connection between them, to have both of their on-card autographs, especially, if you were to send it off to PSA and get it authenticated and make it a real nice package,
Mm-hmm.
I could see a huge market for that, even on the secondary market. And if you sort of spent, your time with your little pop-up shop, partly introducing golfers to our hobby, but also partly, selfishly for yourself, gathering and accumulating the stock that you can distribute to us current collectors. Because, that Fitzpatrick dual auto, that sounds awesome. And I don't know if it exists pack pulled from Upper Deck at this time.
No, you can't get anything in that sense, so you just kind of have to do it yourself. The going back into thinking about intriguing ways to do autographs, and I'm going to digress a minute on the story of when Tiger Woods came to Birmingham, Alabama, back in the amateur days. He was still with Stanford, and they were playing in a golf tournament out at Shoal Creek, and a nice Birmingham golf course in Alabama. Excuse me. And I didn't have anything for him to really get signed, but I knew Tiger Woods was coming out to that golf course, and I was like, "Well, heck, what am I going to do?" So I just ended up figuring out that I could go to the newspaper stand, and I said, oh, hey, here's an article about Tiger Woods coming to Birmingham. Oh, gosh, it has a nice picture of him. Now, of course, a newspaper is not the nicest thing to get signed. And of course, when you're getting somebody like Tiger Woods in 1995, you really would rather have something a whole lot nicer. Well, I'd put my quarter in or whatever it was to the newspaper stand. And, of course, I grabbed every newspaper in there and cut out, 8 or 9 of those pictures instead of just buying the one. Don't tell anybody I did that. But I was the only guy with actually a picture at that golf tournament to present the Tiger at that golf tournament. And he signed all of them, was a gracious guy. And, a year later, it's like, here he is. Here's Tiger Woods, y'all. And I made a pretty good penny off of those. But that you just have to be intuitive, and you have to think of things on the fly. And back then, it was really hard because you just couldn't go on eBay 2 weeks before the event and go, I need 8 Tiger Wood magazine covers, to get signed. And especially when they're still in college, he didn't have anything even at that point in time, except for a picture that would show up in this newspaper.
Yeah, what's the iconic advertisement by Nike where, Titus is just it's all silence and he's just juggling a ball and then he hits it and then it says "Hello World" or something like that. Like,
Yeah, that was just an iconic moment. Yeah, there it was in a book about how that came to be and how the Nike came to be, and with that Nike golf ball going slowly into the hole, it really changed a whole lot about what was going on in golf. And boy, we
mm,
sure do have a lot to thank Tiger Woods for that, no doubt.
absolutely. And when you met him and got those autographs, that was a year, obviously, year or two before he won the 97 Masters. And that Hello World vision really, hit the screens. Like that's so cool that you got to meet Tiger, right before everything blew up.
Yeah, I had no clue what would happen, but as a guy that chased a bunch of minor leaguers, I knew that there was actually a chance that eventually, this it could turn out to be a very good investment, or it could turn out to be I just met Tiger Woods, and who is that? So it turned out.
Mhm.
Luckily, it turned out the in a better way.
Well, as a self-proclaimed autograph chaser, hunter, you've obviously met a lot of people who didn't pan out, who could have been the next Tiger Woods and did not. Maybe you've met equivalent superstars as Tiger Woods in other sports. I didn't really intend to go in this direction, and I do eventually want to circle back to the whole idea of a memorabilia shop. But you know what? What can you tell us about that, your history in autograph chasing? Because I know that's something you're very passionate about, adding on-card autographs, photographs. You mentioned flags to me earlier. You know what? Just, what's your Coles notes on your history involved in that?
Well, like I said, when I was 8 years old, my dad would take me to Atlanta Falcon games, and then we'd stay till the end, and he'd sit around and have a good time and have a couple beers, and then he'd say, "Go, let's go down and meet the players." So he'd push me out to where the gate where the players would come out, and I have a picture of me as a little 8 year old, getting autographs from these NFL guys in the '80s, and I got to meet people like Walter Payton and, gosh, who knows else. I mean, I'm just throwing the big names out there that I remember. But that was just always a thing. It was always a thing for me to chase autographs. And then even into the early 90s when Vladimir Guerrero Sr., I hate to say senior now because you have to differentiate between Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but Vladimir Guerrero Sr. and Andrew Jones were coming through the Sally League. And I lived about an hour away in Auburn, and I could just ride over to these Sally League games at night. And I was probably the first person that ever showed Vladimir Guerrero or either Andrew Jones his baseball card, his minor league card. And Guerrero used to sign every letter in his name, which would take up from corner to corner on the card. So, it's just those little things of times and places. And when you meet these people now, when you get autographed now and it's a guy from back then, you already know what happened. Back when I'm doing all this and sitting there with Vladimir Guerrero at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night in Macon, Georgia, before he's even in the big leagues, that those are memories that you're just always going to have. And never forget. And when they turn into Hall of Famers, it's great. When they turn into nobodies, or I want to say a nobody, when they turn into something nobody wants, then I still have something in my personal collection that I have a memory of. I know that guy. I know what he did, or I know what he didn't do. So either way, they're still special.
Wow, wow. This really is bringing in so many memories of a conversation I had with Paul Hickey. So he's a host of the Sports Card Strategy Show and nooffseason.com. And he and I would say, almost had a bit of a misunderstanding because he doesn't collect cards. He's just a pure flipper. And,
Mhm.
he and I have had, we're great friends, but we don't see eye to eye on how we participate in the hobby. And one of the disconnects that we discovered during one of our conversations was that, he looked at having a piece of card, a memorabilia or a signed card and wanting to collect that as a personal memento, as, something nostalgia to bring you back to your personal connection. And I never really experienced that. I didn't hang around the baseball fields. I mean, heck, 3/4 of the year here in Canada, you can't because it's snowy. And when I got into the hobby, it was all about the cardboard, the shininess, the aesthetics, treating them like artwork. And to hear your story, it really opens my eyes to why Paul thought that way. Because
Mhm.
I imagine there's so many people out there, just like yourself, who a huge part of your life, a huge part of your childhood was hanging around these venues, these events, bonding with your dad, with these athletes. Because what you just described, it's not just a casual, oh, I bumped into a celebrity and I scrambled to grab something and they signed it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but this sounds like a pretty significant part of your life. Is that right?
Oh yes, sir. It takes me back to every story I can tell. I can feel the time period. I can feel the memories, and that. So yeah, I did kind of follow you guys' podcasts, and I do listen to his podcast as well, Mike. And so I did have, I almost turned it off, during that because I did hear the disconnect there between you guys. I didn't really actually turn it off, but there is a reason behind all this that we do, and it is the experience. It's the what. Sometimes if you catch these people at different times, you're catching them when they're not in the best of moods and or they're not in the best part of their careers. And when you see a PSA graded autograph out there that you might buy on eBay, you don't know the story behind that. You don't know the time period when that card was signed. You don't know this or that. Now, I don't send a letter to with everything I sell to people going, this is what happened or where it was. But I do actually take pictures when I do this at golf tournaments just to give them a picture and that I put that with my eBay listing just to show the period of when I got that autograph. Because autographs change over time. Like I said, Vladimir Guerrero signed every letter of his name. It took him probably a minute to sign his name. But I guarantee you, it didn't take a minute 6 months later to sign his name. It became scribble later. So when I search these autographs out just to see what I might have had, I'll look for a Vladimir Guerrero every letter in the thing because I'll say, I bet that was me that got that card signed.
Wow, wow. And I'm the next question I'm going to ask might be a little a sensitive one because in the golf cards and memorabilia group, we have a pretty firm policy that any autographed items require a certificate of authenticity. And we decided on that policy just to protect our group members because there's incredible people like yourself who make this a lifestyle to collect legitimate autographs and cherish those memories. There's also bad actors, and who could forge things, and there can be products that are pretty darn good. Um, so what are your thoughts just on that whole topic of just the potential taboo-ness of on-card autographs?
I have a lot of avenues to get rid of my stuff. I don't take it as a sensitive question or I don't take it personally, but me myself, I really don't feel like I need to send something into a company to tell me that that autograph is legit. Now, the buyers, of course, yes. So I don't mind that you have that policy. So that's why I just post. I don't ever post. I post not for sale on your thing because I don't want that to be a thing. I don't want you to have to go, well, hey, Andy put this card up. I know he's out there getting these cards signed, so it's going to be okay. No, that's not how it works. You have the policy. I go by that policy. I just post stuff that I get, and if they find a way to be able to Google Joel Damon Pink Dazzler, then they'll probably be able to find that card on eBay. I don't have to have it on your site to do that. So But it's weird because I've had one instance where I've had somebody question the legitimacy of something that I sold to them, and this was probably 20 years ago. But it was a Dan Marino card that I got signed. It was a hot gun. It had the clouds in the background. Very beautiful card, very beautiful autograph. But when he signed it, he uh he messed up the number on the signature, and I didn't ever catch that. It looked like a 11, it looked like a 13. I mean, it could go either way. So I did get questioned about that later on. Well, hey, Dan Marino's number 13, he's not number 11. This looks like a 11. But you can see where that would be an issue with, it was just happened to be how he signed that number. And I just legitimately had to give the guy back his money and say I apologize. Like, you pointed out a great question, and I put that card back in my collection, and I never saw the light of day again. But I learned a lesson there where I knew to check numbers and check this, check that, just so you don't get called out on something like that. But I try to get pictures of me getting cards signed these days because everybody has a camera phone. But back in the 80s, 90s, and all that, you didn't have such a thing, so you couldn't take those pictures.
And it never hurts to have a Dan Marino autograph in the collection, right?
I'm
And,
not mad about it.
and cards, cards from that era for you in particular, if it's stuff that have memories attached to them, you're not going to be able to get that stuff back. So, I would never say, if your mission is to unload some of that to collectors who will enjoy and treasure them, then, you do that. But, for the foreseeable future, I'm sure you would really enjoy having all those cards for yourself as well. As somebody who goes out there and gets all these in-person autographs, you're definitely the most respectful of the group and the community, and never once has anybody suggested that hey, Andrew's trying to sell something or anything. No, you have not. You've definitely towed the line, and you've done an awesome job sharing your collection. That's the biggest thing that I want to promote is people sharing their cards, making connections, building friendships. So bravo and kudos on all that. Um, to circle back a little bit to, close out this vision for, the future. And by the way, I forget if we mentioned it, but the way you kind of framed it to me is would kind of be like a retirement plan, and a few years from now, maybe you'd finish up your career in catering and be able to spend your time continuing in these tours and spending time in these environments that you love, and participate in the hobby at the same time. Um, that it's an incredible vision, but I if anybody can do it, I imagine it would be you with the connections you have and understanding how a tour might want to have a relationship with a vendor like that. I don't think the average listener who's listening to this would be able to succeed. This is going to take a special kind of feat. What kind of challenges do you envision, as you kind of map this out?
The challenges are, it's the PGA Tour first off, and that's one of the challenges. I work both PGA Tour and USGA Tour. I have yet to work a live event, but that is on my agenda next year. I'm picking up the live a couple live events, and I don't really have many weeks left to pick up much more stuff. But it left. But if it's something that I want to do, I'm going to definitely find a way to work that into my schedule. Um, but yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing is dealing with that kind of thing and what kind of money they want for me to be able to come out there and put stuff out on the course. I mean, I work at Formula One in Austin, Texas every year, and I do the start finish line and do the skyboxes there, and it's all hoity toity and this and that. But the Tops had a booth there because they're very big in F1, and Upper Deck should have the same thing at their golf events. Maybe they could be the ones that do this. I don't want to have to be the one, but get out there and hand out your product, show your product off to people. Why would you not be at a golf event? Tops knows how to be at a F1 event. F1 cards are very popular. So that also was just things that I see along my travels that I go, there's something missing. And, of course, we could say that about all kinds of card companies or card things, but, that was just what I feel is missing. So I hope to be the person that could get Upper Deck out there. Maybe I run an Upper Deck card thing. You never know what it's going to be, but just get the stuff out there. You ain't going to find out until you get it out there.
Mm. Fanatics has done an incredible job
Mhm.
kind of mixing the worlds of special events and the trading card hobby. And, I haven't really been attending these events. I really participate from the hobby in my own house because I got a young family. I don't travel much. But from what I've heard others say, Fanatics is holding these big events like Fan Fest and other sorts of things and participating in, Formula One's an example, right? Fanatics owns Tops, obviously. So they've been kind of pushing, I'm sure, Tops to be involved. If there's anybody at Upper Deck to be that front line for our hobby, in on the field, let's say,
Mhm.
um, and so aside from, this physical setup and the inventory and all that, and sort of the day-to-day of an event, is there anything special that you envision, like having a player sit at a booth with you and meet fans or sign something for fans? Or like a trade night, advertise it so that hobbyists in the area can come on over and trade and buy sell. Like, do you envision any kind of promotional special events?
Oh yeah, man. Anything that we can get the customers involved, our guests, is definitely a positive. And bringing other vendors in is or other card sellers is definitely a thing because it's just about education and opportunity and growing the golf hobby. So everything that can happen is going to happen through getting somebody getting out there and doing the legwork and putting this stuff out on tour. But there's just so many different things and avenues that we can go down, and I'm glad to be able to share all this because I want people to reach out and give us ideas back and feedback from this podcast because it's been great. It's been definitely been fun to share a lot of experiences with you
Excellent.
guys.
Well, I've really enjoyed the conversation as well. As we wrap up, uh, thank you so much for joining me and sharing some of your vision and some of your history with autographs and your card shop in the 90s. It's really intriguing and exciting for me to connect with collectors like yourself. Any kind of final thoughts or anything that you want to promote before we sign off?
Oh no, I'm just headed to 3M next week in Minneapolis, Minnesota to go get some more stuff and meet some more people and get some more experiences and ideas. And I've got Memphis to the St. Jude and the Tour Championship coming up in August, and then I'll have to step away a little bit from golf and go into the college football season. So, which if you're from the South, Mike, like I am, college football it goes pretty strong, and we just forget about everything else that goes on.
So I've heard and so I've seen on TV, but we're a world apart. So when the season comes along, enjoy the football. But until then, good luck attending the 3M and the St. Jude and the FedEx Cup playoffs. And thanks for joining.
Thank you, Mike.
As you could tell when Andrew said he was packing up to head to the 3M Open, we pre-recorded this episode, and so I now looking back, I think it's kind of funny that he said he could sell Joel Damon any day of the week over a Xander Schauffele card, and I don't know exactly what card he was thinking of because the Olympic cards hadn't released yet. But man, a Sports Illustrated for Kids Xander Schauffele card nowadays, those are pretty hot. And if Andrew happened to have an autographed one, gosh, I hope he didn't sell it before he won those two majors this year. But, in all seriousness, to kind of wrap up the thoughts here, the thing I took away most from that conversation, aside from just digging into Andrew's unique retirement plan of opening this mobile card shop, that's, such a unique thing to dream about. And I really enjoyed just asking and probing to kind of visualize what that would look like. But I think more importantly, I always walk away with some takeaways that I wasn't necessarily expecting. And, the first one was just sort of this code of conduct of how to ask somebody for autographs because it's something that I've just never really been in. Like, I don't have a lot of significant celebrities or professional athletes that live nearby. I don't go to a lot of events and I never really grew up chasing those autographs. So it's really cool to learn from basically a pro at that hobby. And then, I really like how the last 2 weeks have been with gentlemen who really like to focus on kids and bringing them into the hobby and reflecting on their own experiences and how they can help current kids experience and learn from the same things that they went through, but in today's modern way. Getting a shiny Dazzler card autographed instead of a popcorn bag. And don't bother someone when they're with their family or if they're eating. Good stuff, Andrew. That wraps up another interview with someone who I probably would like to follow up with in a few years and just see how this vision is panning out. Next week, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking a bit more golf, Olympics, and Xander Schauffele. A guest is going to be Adam Van Zee, a member of the Golf Cards and Memorabilia community. So I look forward to getting to that one with you guys. And I'll see you next week.
Ridiculous golf card collector.